because there's a such thing as resurrection. We were all once dead in the eyes of the law. If you're still claiming the classification black, you are considered in law civilly dead. So all of us, yes, we were dead and then we resurrected. Next question.
Now, what I want to say is what I'm trying to say. So from the standpoint of just perusing the comments and looking through the chat, it hurts my heart. This platform was established to bring forth information, confirmation, inspiration, and in times like this, we hopefully that it will bring us together, give us a platform on which to come together and discuss our mutual issues so that we can come together in those principles you talked about of love, peace, true peace, freedom, and justice. But I see so much infighting amongst the so-called, woke Moors, even in the chat, that it overshadows sometimes the issue at hand. What I said to you when I contacted you and reached out to you was the fact that I felt whether Brother Jamal and his group were right or wrong, that the situation itself, as well as the other situation about the property being taken, cast all Moors in a bad light.
All of us.
Attack on everyone.
And then what they also, to add insult to injury, they also got our own people that are branded black to go against themselves and they don't even know it, saying that look at those Moorish Americans, they're stupid, they're silly. I told you that their ideologies don't work. When actuality, they're not ideologies. It's the supreme law of the land. They're also principles, universal principles that predate the actual Constitution and treaty. They're ancient principles. And those ancient principles, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, resonate with the divine common sense. If you hold any of their color of laws to common sense, you will see and be revealed that it doesn't make sense. It has no standing. Such as state of Massachusetts versus Jamal. If Jamal's in their venue and he has the right to face his accuser, and you have the state's attorney or the district attorney at the other table with an empty chair, that's called the empty chair trick. That is called color of law. Color of law is the appearance or the semblance without the substance of a legal right. That means the state of Massachusetts, or however they got the case captioned, which is not really a case, is a fictitious person, meaning it's not real, it's not there, it's not tangible. That means it doesn't resonate with the senses that are common. The five senses: smell, touch, taste, hearing, and seeing. Can't do any of that. None of that resonates with the state of Massachusetts. Thus and therefore, Jamal cannot have the right to face his accuser. That's called color of law. And it's a it's not even a trial. It's a bill of attainder. That's proof that it's a bill of attainder. These are facts. These are not opinions.
Here's a comment from I'm just going to start pulling them up here. Tony Bay says only a state government can unbrand you, period. I think you're unbranding yourself. My opinion.
What is a state government?
It's a state government. See, this is the continuous challenge that we deal with when it comes to bringing harmony and unity amongst ourselves as one collective body of people. Is anybody can go on any type of site, social media, or come up with their own little stream and see who can be the biggest complainer. But when you're not backing up your statements or the issues that you're considering errors with facts that can bring some type of resolution or solution to the cause, then what are you actually saying? And so this is, and again, we got to keep in mind the sincerity of when, like I said, Dr. G, I always give high honor and gratitude to you for actually putting in the work that you're doing to even create such a platform such as you do, and as you have been doing for some years now, to give us a place where we can actually have a common ground, to have one common voice. But yet you will still see that there is either people, whether out of the state of the choice of ignorance or if they have an agenda assigned to them to want to continue to disrupt that harmony. We all know that those that are in these illusional positions of power are in a state of desperation now, because they see that as this cosmic energy begins to unfold and reveal, is that there is an imbalance, but the imbalance not so much is really with them, because they're doing exactly what their carnal nature has been designed for them to do, is to disrupt things. We're the ones that have really been suffering the great consequences of just being out of balance with nature, because we are of nature. So once we get off of, again, back to what we were saying in the previous interview, leave the big eyes and little U's out of it and get your egos out of the way, because how is it that you're going to embrace the reality and the truth of everything with sincerity if everybody's going to look at things with this blocked ego mindset, where it seems as though what they're doing has some validity with regards to bringing a direction for us to follow in one accord? Anybody, like, we all can sit here and be on the curb, feet swinging and complaining about how life has done us wrong and how situations and circumstances amongst us are not right and in harmony with each other. But then when somebody says, okay, then what do we need to do to bring some type of right standing in society, and especially on a forum where the world can see that we're not as what's been projected and what's been portrayed for decades about our people, then nobody wants to step and say, okay, this is what needs to get done. So until or unless we start just remove the issue of, we all know that there's issues. And again, we all know that not one person can be the sole solving problem person for everything. But if he has something that is of value and of substance, that which somebody can apply in a circumstance or an experience in which they may be going through themselves, and in the course of applying that, they'll render some type of enlightenment which they can bring back to the table and be able to share that, so which we can be able to spread that information and that truth amongst one another. And again, this is again going back to what I was saying from a century ago. We had those type of operations when we was dealing with the Tulsa situation and all that, but people just kind of lost sight of what was the principle of that. We were in harmony and loving with one another. So, I mean, when you still see the actions that take place, see, this is the remnants of us not really looking at things from a divine principle, and we're still looking at it from the emotional aspect, which we have been trained to do.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And I want to remind us that in chapter 2 of the Circle 7 Quran, the first beginning of chapter verse 21 says this: the only savior of the world is love.
Love.
I see everything and anything sometimes but love in our dealings with one another. That's the reason why we can't come together and achieve anything of any, significance. That's why we take one step forward and two steps back, because somebody interjects their hate or their prejudice or their dislike for somebody getting more press than they are, and then they, then all of a sudden they go become the sourpuss, and they want to destroy everything that was being done. The point of them is that, well, like I said earlier, we all have been injured in a sense from what happened, regardless of who's at fault. We all, and what we need to do is to be working to correct the image of who we are as Moorish Americans. We need to correct that image, because we come from all walks of life. Not everybody that is claiming their nationality is trying to take, obtain a property or evade or void paying child support or some of the things that they try to put on. That's what this is about. That's not what this is about. This is not what there are people, so-called professional people. I was a professional people in my former profession. So I would have been the least person but when I heard the truth just definitely set me free. And I believe that that's what's been happening with millions around the world who've been hearing the truth over these years. And I'm grateful that this platform can add in some small way to that. No, I don't believe that this is the only platform that dispenses truth about being Moors. But when the ones of you that I invite to come on, it's because there is a heart connection. There's a heart connection. There are people that want to come on this platform that I don't invite on the platform because their heart's not right. I'm not. And if I tell the truth during an interview, they wouldn't like me anymore, because I would remind them that their heart hasn't even been right towards me. Right. And so we've got to first have self-love. Once you can love yourself, then we can love each other. But the Quran says that, you know, y'all looking for a savior. Love is the savior, and it starts with me. It starts with me. I've got to love you. I've got to love you. You know what I mean? And I've got to love me first, though, and then I can spread that love about. But people that can't love don't love themselves. And we're trying to fix something. We're trying to fix the problem. And all of the negativity that I hear, not just on this particular broadcast, because I know I too received a phone call on Saturday morning. I pulled it up on my phone. I'm not going to mention the person, but it came in at 8:52 a.m. And this particular person was trying to get in touch with Brother Lamont because of with regard to the situation, and that I believe is the same two people that you talked to and didn't name. I spoke to one of them because they called me at 8:52 a.m. and I did what I could to try to connect you all, because, and apparently not knowing that you had been up all night and had fallen asleep for a rest. So I know what you're saying to that extent is true. I know that, you know, some were like, well, were you there whenever what happened? I don't know whether they were, you know, they went before them today or not. You were already told that someone else, another competent Moor, was going to handle this. It does not negate the fact that you did your best to diffuse the situation on Saturday. And then when they said thank you, but no thank you, then you did what you did, but you still gave advice as to what should or could be done to assist in the situation. So all you in the chat talking that smack, listen, y'all need to know that I'm like this far away. I'm going to get me some moderators, and you're going to be blocked. And I don't care whether you talk nasty about me afterwards or not, but I didn't have it up to there with the ridiculousness. I'm going to get moderators because it's you know, we got to get somewhere. This types of things takes us backwards. We want to go forward from this. We want to grow from this. We want to unify from this.
Absolutely. Can I interject?
Of course.
It was something that I learned from Floyd Mayweather, Muhammad Ali, and Mike Tyson. All three of them are in sports, and all three of them in their respective sports, which is boxing, were the most hated. But at the same time, they were the most loved, because love and hate actually is two opposite degrees of the same emotion. Love is nothing but hate, the opposite. And hate is nothing but love, the opposite. So in order for you to know what love is, you have to know what hate is first. Just like in order for you to know what good is, you got to know what bad is first. Or to know what wisdom is, you have to be a fool. And in chapter 1, it talks about man being the Lord of all the plane of man. Excuse me. Let me say what chapter 1. Chapter 1 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, which we call Circle 7. Man is the Lord of all the plane of manifest, of protoplasm, of mineral, of plant, of beast. But he gave up his birthrights just to gratify his lower self. But man will regain his lost estate, his heritage. But he must do it in a conflict that cannot be told in words. Yea, he must suffer trials and temptations manifold. And then I'll skip to the last part. Man will be fully saved, redeemed, perfected by the things he suffers on the plane of flesh and on the plane of soul. So what normally brings everyone, our people anyway, and everyone around the world, what brings them together?
Pain.
Something that causes pain. Something that has to do with death. Something that has to do with a tragedy. That's what brings everybody together. And what Floyd Mayweather and Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson figured out was not that it's best to be hated, but you can capitalize off being hated, because hate is still someone giving you attention. And remember, attention is the full faith and credit. So everyone comes to, well, not everyone, most people comes to Floyd Mayweather's fight and pays all of those funds,
all that energy
to see him lose. That was the same for Muhammad Ali, because they talk so much trash. But what did they benefit from it? They benefited the finances. I mean, Floyd Mayweather, I mean, he did just announce, what did he say, how to bank rob or something like that. But that's the thing. In the holy books, including the Holy Bible, it said that the Lord will make your enemy your footstool. So with that being said, let's not look at what these trolls are saying in the comments as negative, because that's energy that they're giving. And they're speaking their truth, because the laws of nature don't change for anybody. All right? Laws of nature don't change for anybody. You are held by your word. All right? For by your word, this is in Proverbs, for by your word you will be justified, and by your word you will be condemned. And what did they used to say, the policy enforcers? Anything you say can and will be used against you. All right? So whatever you're saying against the truth will be used against you. Thus and therefore, your current situation. Are you still paying a mortgage? Even though you know mortgage means dead pledge. Are you still paying a debt? Even though the Federal Reserve note that you call money is not money and it doesn't pay anything. Are you paying taxes? Even though the word tax actually means tithe. Right? So how can you talk against the very salvation that will help assist you in your current issue and try to put it down? You're not putting it down for people that got ears to hear and eyes to see, because they're coming. You're putting it down and convincing yourself to not do it, and you're blocking your own remedy. So thus the statement is made, many are called, but few are chosen. That means out of the all of everyone, many are called. And out of the many, only a few are chosen. And guess who chooses? We do. And when I say we, I'm talking about all of us as a whole. It's called free will. You have the power to choose. So you can choose your remedy, your salvation, or you can choose your destruction. You can make the choice by way of emotions or by way of truth. It's your choice. Either way, it's not going to affect us. It's not going to affect anyone else that is within the constitutional fold of government, which are principles, ancient principles. That Constitution does not give rights to anyone. It protects pre-existing rights that were bestowed upon you by your mother when you were crowned coming out of her womb. It's called an inheritance. Now you can claim it or you can abandon it. Choice is yours. So Dr. G, I don't think that you should block those people. Let them come on, because they talk about it. They talk about this.
But again, it's good. It's good for the fact that it continues to keep us on the right path and the straight and narrow to continue to ascend beyond it and above it. So that way we don't get caught in the turmoil of it. Because even when you're standing on the principles of the truth, you can have a million people or a million foes that come up against you and try to say that you're either agents. I'm an agent. I'll admit, I'm an agent. I'm an agent for salvation.
He agent.
I am an agent for the uplifting of all humanity. I am an agent for
the Caucasian
word.
But he an agent.
Yes, I would say that on the record and publicly. I am, yes, an agent for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So therefore, now you can make the assumption.
I did see a comment regarding my brother in the back that he was the only one that looked like a Moroccan, and everybody else they need to see y'all's 23andMe.
Wait, who?
The mere fact that anybody will make a statement.
It's in the chat. It's in the chat.
And know the structure as to what that applied and the purpose of it only goes to show that either they are extremely ignorant or been a fool.
Here's the other thing. A tree is known by its fruits. So if you're making claims, no matter who you are, one day you will be challenged.
Absolutely.
You will be challenged on what you know. If you claim that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, and I'm not taking anyone that says that, I'm not taking anything from anyone that says that, that's going to be challenged between this year and the coming years. If you're claiming that you love Allah and Muhammad is your prophet, that will be challenged. If you're saying that Noble Drew Ali is your God, that will be challenged. Everything will be challenged, especially if you're saying the Constitution does not work and consular jurisdiction is not for Moorish Americans on this land. Because guess what? Go to the website enforcetheconstitution.org and see if we ain't used consular jurisdiction to help have those cases dismissed. We did, and you can't challenge that. It happened already.
Well, I believe if everybody on here hopefully does have a Circle 7 Quran. If you don't have a Circle 7 Quran, get your Circle 7. You know, and read. You know, all right. Yeah.
25.
And chapter 25. That's where I was getting ready to go.
Yeah,
I was getting ready to state that the Holy Quran of the Asiatic nation. If we all focus on what the prophet indicates, and a lot of us is not even comfortable with saying that we have a holy prophet, a divine prophet who brought back those things that was withheld from us. And thus that is the kind of illness and the psychological conditioning, because we know that it starts with a thought. And once the thought is become captive, then they captivated your imagination with your ability to create. And now you cannot create harmony because you do not and cannot create harmony in your thoughts. So the thoughts is the cause of it all. The prophet stated in chapter 25, which it says, the holy covenant of the Asiatic nation, ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother have given you suck, that the bonds of affection, therefore unite thee with thy brother, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity. Prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Now, if you can recite that and put it in your highest thoughts, which is your highest consciousness of self, which is here, that you can start to think about, you will not think about division, but you will start to think about unity. You will start to think about that love and peace in thy father's house, so therefore we can dwell with one another. That's why when people came out of captivity and a prophet, Noble Drew Ali, was bringing it back to remembrance, he said, teaching my people to love instead of hate is the main issue at hand, because we have been taught to hate thyself and to hate thy brother. They see you as, and they see a threat because you have brothers up here together with the Moroccan flag, and you have them in sequence in unity with one another. And instead of seeing it as a position of service, they see it as a position of a title of being able to be in control. No, this is when you see brothers who have this fez on, who has the turban on, our sisters and our brothers, that is a position of service, saying we are here for the uplifting and salvation of humanity, period. If that becomes our plight, then we don't have to worry about that condition. Remember who you are and start to change that thought. With that, I yield.
Islam, brother. Yes. The holy covenant of the Asiatic nation should be understood by everyone around the world that are Asiatic. Another word for Asiatic is human. So it's really a holy covenant of the human nation. And it said, when we separate throughout the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before your own blood. That's called consanguinity, blood relationship. Now, if the blood is corrupted, that is due to being disobedient and clinging to principles that delude to slavery, then the heir is not heritable, meaning he is not competent to inherit, or she is not competent to inherit. And that includes the inheritance of your birthrights or your rights that are protected by the Constitution and treaty. So you cannot, even though you call yourself a Moor, but you still cling to principles that allude to slavery, pursuant to Article 6 of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1836 between the United States of North America and the Moroccan Empire. It states in part, if any Moor not a subject of these dominions shall make prize of any of the citizens of America or his effects, and bring them into any of the ports of his majesty, they shall be immediately released, as they will then be considered as under his majesty's protection. That means also, or that includes also the opposite. If you are a Moor, being a subject of these dominions, then yes, they can make prize of you because your classification is stateless, or in other words, undesirable. And those are real classifications that you should look up. If you want to deny your birthright and continue to be branded black, you have the right to do so. If you want to claim to be Moorish American or Moor or Mur, M-U-U-R, or Al-Moroccan or Moroccan, and you still want to act or be or think under the Black Code, which was the statutes that governed the institution of slavery, you have that right. We're not here to sell you anything. We're not here to convince you of anything. We are simply here to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Our illustrious prophet is a prophet of the world. He's universal, and his principles are universal. Those principles are love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, which are represented by the green, five-pointed green star in our national flag. That's our principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Now, understand this. I am the same individual that back in 2013, they claimed that I stole a mansion at Montgomery County. I am the same individual that back in 2013, they claimed I also took a townhouse at Charles County. The Montgomery County case was dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. I did not get debranded by a state government. I did not do a UCC 1 claim. I did not do administrative process. No, all I did was enforce the Constitution. If you want to see proof of the dismissal of that case, go on enforcetheconstitution.org. It's not about me though. These cases, or these, they're not cases. None of those issues on the websites are not cases, although they called them cases. But for layman's term, we called them traffic case, habeas corpus case, fraudulent lien case, etc. Those alleged cases, or collusive actions, I should say, or bills of attainder, was dismissed for lack of jurisdiction, not because we're like just some super smart people that are privileged, or we're FBI agents or anything like that. No, they were dismissed based off of principle. And also understand that Drew Ali said, I have agents everywhere. He said, I have agents everywhere, or I have detectives, excuse me. He said, I have detectives everywhere. We got to understand that when we look at a Manchurian, we're looking at a Moor. When we look at a who we call Korean, we're looking at a Moor. When we look at what we call a Chinese, we're looking at a Moor. These are Asiatics. They're Moors, all right? You're looking at yourself. Stop separating yourself. I'm speaking only to the people that got ears to hear and eyes to see.